Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the 3-month plan webinar and workshop for school leaders. I'm so honored to be here. I'm so excited to share this with you. I feel like this is just one of those webinars, one of the workshops that I've offered that is just, it's the most tangible. It's going to be the most useful for you. And it's really going to give you the mindset you need, the tools you need, and the strategy that you need to be highly successful. So we're going to dive right in. I've got a lot of people signing up for this. I'm so excited that you guys are here. Welcome. Oh my gosh. Really looking forward to this. Okay. I'm just going to dive right in because I know y'all are ready and I don't want to waste your time. All right. So I just want to quickly introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Angela Kelly Robeck. I am a former teacher and instructional coach. I was a reading specialist for a while. And then I became a principal. I was a principal at 2 different sites for 6 years before going to a district administration role. I was the coordinator for RTI across the district and helped principals implement RTI before I decided to become a full-time certified coach. So that's who I am. For those, and you probably met me through the podcast or on social media. I'm just so happy you're here. Welcome so much. So while people are logging in, I want to take a moment to just tell you how the 3-month plan came into existence, how it came to be. Really what was happening at the end of this school year, well, all throughout the year, but I noticed it a lot as the end of the year was coming and people were getting more and more overwhelmed. So I coach a lot of brand new school leaders and veteran school leaders. And I noticed that everybody, no matter regardless of their experience level, they were feeling overwhelmed with the year. They were feeling overwhelmed with the end of the year and everything that had to get done. My new school leaders were overwhelmed all year long. They just didn't know what they didn't know. And we were working on trying to map out and plan ahead, because the one thing I hear from school leaders is I feel behind, I can't keep up. There's this chronic urgency to keep up with things, to try and overwork in compensation, to feel like you're on top of your game and that you're ahead of the game and that you're at least on track, right? So when I looked at trying to map out a full school year with school leaders, it was daunting. It was overwhelming. It was just way too far out. There were just too many details to even consider. And our brains were just shutting down. Because what happens when you look at the whole year is that it feels like everything is a priority. This is a priority. That's a priority. And when everything's a priority, you know what happens. Nothing is a priority. Okay. My principals were having struggle. They were struggling deciding where to focus. So they were doing this whack-a-mole approach. They were running over here and solving this, and they were coming over here and solving that. And what ended up happening is that people were overworking. They were overscheduling and overexerting themselves. That is not a sustainable leadership model, right? We already know education's hard. It's hard to be a teacher and it's really hard to be a principal. And when you're trying to solve everything at once and when everything feels like a priority, that's when you get stuck in the overwhelm cycle, where you're overworking in compensation because you're overwhelmed and you're trying to figure it out and you're exhausting yourself, and then you burn out and then you kind of slack off because you're so burned out unintentionally. And then what happens is you get caught up back up in the overwhelm and you go round and round. I wanted to help principals figure out a way to avoid that overwhelm cycle as much as possible. And when you're in that overwhelm cycle, what to do, right? So that overwhelm was creating lockdown in our minds and we just couldn't even plan. And what I was hearing was, I can't think about tomorrow. I've got to figure out today, or how can I plan for the end of the year when I'm just figuring out how to get through the first trimester, right? So the goal here is what we were doing to try and solve it was overworking, but still feeling behind. No matter how much you work, you still feel behind, right? Exactly. So I just want you to say welcome. I want to say welcome. And this training is definitely designed for school leaders, right? So if you're new in the position and if you're an upcoming leader, this is your first year or you're going into your first year and you don't know what you don't know what to expect, the overwhelm feels very real and you don't have a lot of guidance. I know for me, it was like, welcome. thank you for being a principal. Here are your keys. Go open a school, right? And that was about it. So if you're new to the position and you're freaking out and you're really scared, we're here to help you, okay? You've got a tribe of empowered school leaders that are here to help you and coach you and guide you, okay? If you're a school leader who really is craving clarity and focus, if you want to establish a true priority, which means one thing, which I'm going to call a primary focus, if you're having trouble feeling organized or feeling consistent or feeling focused, this 3-month plan is really going to help you, okay? Or if you want to be more in control of how you're spending your time and energy. This was a huge one for me. I felt like the day was happening to me. I felt like people were sucking my time and energy. And I felt like I was chronically living in a land of interruptions, getting off track, not feeling very focused, not feeling like I had agency and control over my time and how I wanted to show up as a principal energetically, how I wanted to lead my school. I didn't feel a lot of control. So if you're a person who wants to feel like you have some more control over your time and your energy and how you're spending your time and energy, this is the perfect place for you. And finally, as I said, if you want to stop feeling like you're always behind, like I know that feeling. I want to sell your brain on the value of why you want to believe you're ahead of the game and how to actually be ahead of the game. If you want to feel like you're on top of things, if you like to have a plan in advance and then actually honor that plan, a lot of us make plans, right? We can plan and plan and plan. But if we're not honoring that plan, or if we're overscheduling it, or if we're distracted with too many priorities, right? I know my district one time had like 14 initiatives. I'm like, what is that, right? So what this plan is going to do is help you create that focus, create the clarity, which helps your brain calm down, your nervous system calm down, and we can troubleshoot in advance because we're thinking in 3-month segments, okay? All right, my friends. So I just want you to know I have been in your shoes and I've personally done this work myself. I've implemented this plan myself, and I'm going to teach you the process that I used, that I created for myself, because I didn't have anybody to coach me on it. I didn't have any help. My district officials were busy doing their jobs and they weren't really coaching me. So I had to figure it out on myself. But I've helped for 5 years now. I've been helping clients do the same thing: create focus, create clarity, create a sense of calm and trust of themselves. I want you to feel prepared when you walk away today. Okay. So here's what you're going to walk away with. Here's the agenda in the background. We are going to cover the purpose and the value of the 3-month plan. I want you to understand what this 3-month plan is, why it's maybe different than other planning processes you've gone through, and the value, the benefit of committing to this plan and doing the steps that it takes. Okay. You have to be sold on the plan in order for you to want to create it and implement it. Okay. We're going to talk about the results that this plan will create, why taking time to plan ahead and slowing yourself down to plan ahead and be more methodical in the front end is going to help you in the back end, right? It's going to be the best use of your time. It's going to help you save your time, save your energy, maximize the resources you have available to you, right? It's how you're going to feel better. It's going to make you more valuable as a leader. And we're going to talk about those steps, step by step, so you feel very clear and you understand exactly what to do. And I'm going to talk about what to consider as you're designing this plan, and then pitfall planning. I love to talk about pitfall planning because there are pitfalls in the school leadership journey. We can't avoid them and we can't always go around them. So what do we do when they're there in our way? Okay. Now, I know there are probably other 3-month plans floating around in the world out there. This is not rocket science necessarily, but here's how I believe this plan is different and how it caters specifically to you as a school leader. We're not going to just, I call it a brain drain. We're not going to download all of our brain drain and just put it on the calendar. That's typically what we do, right? We have a to-do list and we try to cram it all into our schedule. And then we're like, look, there's not enough time. This isn't going to work. We're not going to attempt to do everything. I'm going to teach you how to decide what to keep and what to let go of, right? We are going to reject overwhelm and confusion as an option. When your brain tells you, I don't know, I'm confused, I'm overwhelmed, I'm burned out, we're not going to invite that in as an option any longer. I'm going to show you how to do that, right? There are issues and challenges that come up that we think are problems, but when we dig in a little bit more, they're actually not problems at all, or they're not a problem we need to address in this moment. In this 90-day plan, this 3-month plan, we might be putting it off to our next 3-month plan. So there's problems you're going to solve now and problems you're going to solve in the next 3 months or the 3 months after that, or you're going to delegate it, or it's really not a problem. Okay. We're going to commit to this priority. What happens is we make a plan, we get sidetracked, and then where it falls off is we're just not fully committed. We've got to coach ourselves and mentor ourselves and mentor one another and support one another on why committing is the best use of our time, why sticking to the plan works. And the meter of success isn't simply about, did I check the boxes? Did I do what I said I was going to do? That is a part of it, yes. But the meter of success, true success, is how you feel being a school leader. You want to feel prepared. You want to feel planned. You want to feel organized. You want to feel focus and clarity. We're also going to measure your success by how much you're not overworking. A lot of you want to hustle your way to success. That will help you in the short term, but you know it doesn't help in the long term, because that's where we get exhausted and we burn out, and we don't like being a school leader because it's exhausting and we're overworking, we're overexerting, and we're overscheduling ourselves. Okay. So a little bit of housekeeping information. This training is going to last around 45 minutes or so. I'm going to save the questions to the very end. Jot your questions down. And for those of you who are interested in learning more about coaching or working directly with me, I'm going to talk about that at the end. So not to worry, I'm going to save that to the very end. I'm going to cover all of this first, and then I'm going to talk about how coaching can support you. Okay. So for those of you who want to stay on and learn more about what coaching is, how it works, what it looks like, I will promise to cover all of that at the end, right? I'm not planning to offer a replay of this training, but for those of you who registered, I will give you access to the link, and I'll share a password with you that will let you rewatch this training if there's anything you want to review and catch again. So this is really a time just to settle in. This is all about you. It's like you're at the spa right now for school leaders. I'm just going to sit back and relax. I'm here. I've got you. I'm going to take great care of you. I'm going to give you the tools you need. So take note. You can take screenshots, make this time all about you. And then I want you to set an intention to make a decision by the end of this webinar about one action that you're going to take and implement to create this result you're looking for. So share that in the Q&A. What is your intention for today? And what are you going to do as a result of what you've learned in this webinar? What one action are you going to take? Okay. You don't have to decide the action right now. I just want you to set the intention. You're here. You're going to get everything you came for. You're going to learn all that you can. You're going to commit to the process. Okay. And then at the end, make a decision, one action step at a time. Okay. So what do you want? Here's what you actually want. Okay. What you actually want is to feel prepared. If you think about a 3-month plan and what attracted you to coming onto this and registering for this workshop, it's that you want to feel prepared as a school leader. You want to be on top of your game. You want to know what's coming up. You want to feel that you have value to offer, that you have clear priorities, that you have time to do the things you need to do, right? A plan helps you anticipate what's coming up, map out the steps, the details you need to consider, like what might come up as an obstacle, and to plan that ahead of time and problem solve for them. So what you want is a plan that's prioritized, that's efficient, and that's not overexerting you to the point of exhaustion, overwhelm, all of that, right? And I just want to offer that we want to create a plan that takes the reality of this job into consideration. There are a lot of leadership jobs out in the world that might not be as as different as this job, right? I used to say to my husband, you can't write what happens in a school on any given day. Like, you're working with the general public, a lot goes on. You're working with kids, you're working with teachers, you're working with the support staff, you're working with bus drivers, you're working with technology people, you are working with all walks of life, your parent community, people who live around the school who have issues with your bell schedule or something like that. Like, you cannot write the things that go down in a given day at a school. So we want to take the reality of the school leadership job into consideration. And because I've been there, I know how to design a 3-month plan that includes the reality of this job. Okay. So here's how we tend to approach the job. We start by, we get in our office and we're like, we get so excited. We get our planners out and we think we're going to map out everything, right? From beginning to end. But what happens, the reality is everything comes at you at once. The beginning of the year, teachers coming at you, technology is coming at you, custodians are coming at you, parents are coming at you, students are coming in, your registration, vaccinations, COVID protocols, whatever's going on at the beginning of the year, it just hits you all at once. That feels hard to differentiate priorities, right? The other thing I notice is that we feel like we're on track for a period of time. We make our 3-month plan when we're in the summer and it feels really good. And then we get whammed with all that stuff at the beginning. Or you actually feel like you're on track for a little bit and then something big takes you off track. It takes up all your time. I call it a wipeout day, where something happens at 9:30 in the morning and you are spending the rest of your day dealing with that thing. And everything you had on your calendar gets wiped out. Another thing I notice is that I notice this, especially with new principals, they have a hard time with interruptions. They don't realize the amount of interruptions that occur as a school leader. When you're a teacher in a classroom, you don't get the number of interruptions from the external world, right? You might have kids who raise their hand or interrupt or talk, but you have some level of management around and systems in place to manage those types of interruptions. When you first become a school leader, you are very shocked at the number of interruptions that happen, right? The other thing I see is that important but non-urgent work doesn't seem to get done. Like, you have this feeling of like, I know I need to be getting into classrooms more. I know that's important work. I know the value. I understand the value of walkthroughs and classroom observations, but urgent things keep coming up. And I just feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not being an instructional leader. Okay. So that there's a dissonance in what you know you want to be doing and what you love to do and what you want to be doing versus the reality of what you are doing. So we want to be able to balance those urgencies with the non-urgent but important work. Okay. A lot of school principals, in response, we jump into that overwhelm cycle. They get sucked in. They start believing, if I just work a little longer, a little later, come in a little earlier, work on the weekend, I'm going to go in for 4 hours and then it's 6, or I'm just going to go in for 1 hour and it's 5. Like, I know it's easy to step into that overwhelm cycle. And it's easy to tell people, I'm going to be better. I'm going to be better. Tell yourself you're going to be better. And then you're not. Then you feel disappointed and discouraged that you can't seem to get out of that overwhelm cycle. Okay. You're taking work home. So you tell yourself, I'm going to leave because you've got kids to pick up and you make dinner. And then you're secretly working, or you're thinking about work while you're with your kids. Or you're taking that big tote bag. That was me bringing the tote bag home, promising myself I was going to work, but then I didn't open it. And then I felt guilty that I should have been working at night. Like, totally skewed perception of how much work I should be doing, right? Over scheduling, over planning. You guys know the drill, right? But ultimately that just results in you feeling behind. That is the getting behind cycle. There's multiple needs. Everything feels like a priority. You feel confused. You start to play whack-a-mole, you get overwhelmed, and everything's getting done halfway. And then you're feeling like nothing's getting done well. You feel behind, you feel unprepared. Okay. That's the getting behind cycle. Why doesn't whack-a-mole work? Intellectually, we know this doesn't work, but here's why we do it. We don't think that we have the time to slow down and make a plan. We don't think we have time for the 3-month plan. We don't think that we can manage or reduce interruptions. We think there's something that just happens to us and that we have no control over them. So in response to those two thoughts, I don't have time, I can't slow down, I can't manage interruptions, they just happen to me. I'm just a victim of the interruptions, or this is just the job. Like kind of we throw our hands up in the air, we stay in reaction mode. Things start to get overlooked and we start to react instead of being purposeful and intentional with our time and our energy and our resources. And that ends up last minute hustling. Our stress levels go up. We can't sleep at night because our mind is constantly on fire thinking about all the things. We overwork and we never get to those high importance but low urgency items. And we don't create the results that we want. And the problem with that is kind of like the problem behind the problem behind the problem. And ultimately the problem behind all of those things is that we're not in control of time and energy. We feel chronically behind and we don't make the impact. We kind of flatline our results. And you've seen that across the board in schools. You might hover a little bit up or a little bit down with your test scores or other forms of measurement, any kind of data that you're using to make decisions. It tends to be flat. Well, we want to get very clear about what's working and what's not and where we need to adjust in order to get those numbers up. Okay, or down, depending on what you're looking at. Okay, so we know whack-a-mole doesn't work. We know multiple priorities don't work. We know overworking isn't the long-term solution. Why don't we change on our own? Why is it so difficult to make that change? Number one, other people have demands of us. There are other people's needs, other people's urgencies where we get those interruptions, or we get, whether it's our boss coming in and telling us this is how you need to approach it, or whether it's other people saying, please help me, I need your help, I need you to do this, I need you to decide that. They put their demands on your plate. That feels very difficult. That's when it starts to pile up, right? Having to say no to people, having to say the work you want me to do isn't a part of the primary focus, or this is what we agreed upon was our primary focus. Is this in alignment with it or not? Being willing to call that out and keep people focused, having to say no, having to constrain, that feels challenging for people. As leaders, we feel challenged by that because we don't want to say no. We want to be a yes person and we want everybody to like us and be happy. And we want to be able to help people solve problems. That's why we're in this job, is to help people, right? Another reason it's hard to change is that we don't value planning time. We don't see the value in it as much as we value being out there hustling and helping other people. It's kind of fun to go out and just be on the go all of the time. Go, 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 help, 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 and go to all the meetings, right? We go out and we do things, but that slowing down piece is very hard for principals because we like to be on the go. We're people for most of us. Or we spin out in the planning. We love to plan, but we don't maybe execute. Maybe there's the flip, right? So if you're a doer, it might be hard to slow yourself down to plan. If you're a planner, it might be hard to get yourself out there and actually execute and do, okay? The fourth reason that it's so hard to change is that we find it hard to honor time for ourselves. It's very easy to honor other people's requests and other people's time. But as you know, when you do too much of that and you don't honor your own needs, your own work needs and personal needs, you start to feel a little resentful. You start to feel a little like pushing back, like everybody else matters but me. And it's all about them. And you start to get a negative vibe when it comes to people asking you for help. When you balance and honor your time equally as you do helping other people, you're going to find it much more peaceful to say yes and to say yes to yourself. So you want to be able to honor your plan, time to think, time to plan, time to prepare. Okay. Here are some of the thoughts that make it feel very challenging. I can't slow down to plan. Other things are more pressing or more important than planning. I don't know what to expect 3 months from now. How can I plan 3 months out? I don't even know what's coming up next week, right? I've been there. I get it. Another thought that came up, I've been studying this for a while, so I tried to capture these thoughts. Another thought that came up for my clients was, things just come up anyway, so why even bother? Like I totally get off track. Why would I even spend this time? Because it never works out. Okay, I hear you. That does happen sometimes. We'll talk about how to counterbalance that, right? Other people think I just can't possibly plan that far ahead. I'm just not that kind of a person. And they think it's a personality conflict or a personality trait that's preventing them. Or this whole, I can barely get today done, let alone thinking about 3 months in advance. So those are thoughts that make your brain kind of resistant to planning out 3 months. But here's the truth. You actually honestly do have an idea of what's coming, even if you're brand new. Even if you're brand new, you have been a teacher. You know the rhythm of a school year. You have an idea of the first 3 months, an idea of the second 3 months, an idea of those third 3 months, and you are in the fourth season, which is summer, right? You have an idea of what to anticipate at the beginning of your summer and the end of your summer, right? And then the middle is all about having fun. And for those of you who are on Facebook, I invite you to the Facebook group. We're having so much fun. I do a Summer of Fun challenge where I give people prizes and free coaching and give you guys tips and suggestions on how to have fun in your life and balance all of that. So that's a little side note, but I want you to know you do have an idea. There is a season and a rhythm to this school year, whether you're a first year principal or a veteran. You do have an idea. I don't want you to tell yourself you don't know. You do know, you have an idea. And if you don't know, ask yourself, if I had to guess, what do I think I would have to accomplish in the next 3 months? Truth number 2, you do have the time. You think you don't have time, but the reason you don't have time is because you're not planning. So invite yourself to consider that when you take the time to plan, it makes the rest of the work so much easier. What would it be like to have the time to plan? If you were the principal who always had plenty of time to plan out your 3 months and map out the details and figure out solutions ahead of time, then what would you be thinking about your time? Okay. I also want to offer that this use of time that you're spending today and then on this plan, it's the most valuable way you can spend your time because it's going to create time for you in the long run. So it feels like you're investing time or you're paying in time right now up front, but the return on that investment is going to be 10x, okay? Because it makes your life so much easier. You're not having as many interruptions. You've thought through obstacles ahead of time and solutions for those potential obstacles. And when you plan out the future, this is my favorite part. When you plan out your future, you get to experience the next 3 months with much more presence. You're just there because it's already been planned. Okay. So if there's any more selling I can do, it's to tell you the value of this, right? We're really talking about the purpose and the value here. And it's important to really belabor this because you won't do it if you don't see the value. Nobody changes their behavior if they don't see what's in it for them and the value. So what's in it for you is that you're always 3 months ahead. You want to be 3 months ahead of your team. They're in real time with students. They're thinking about today and this week, this day's lesson and this week's lesson and the planning meeting they've got, the collaboration, the PLC, whatever they've got coming up for this week. They've got parents to deal with. They're in real time. You as the leader, you are leading, and the way that you lead is by being ahead of the game. You want to stay 3 months ahead as the leader. You want to anticipate before your teachers do. Okay. If you are a person who doesn't anticipate, I promise you, you've got 1 or 2 or 5 teachers out there who do anticipate, who are planners, who come to you first and say, what about this? These 3 things are coming up in the next 3 months. What is your plan? What do we need to do? What do we need to communicate? What's my role? How do I help? Right? If you've had that happen to you, you're not planning 3 months in advance. Okay. When you do, you are going to know what to expect before it happens for the most part. Wild things happen. I get it. We're talking for the most part. The purpose of this plan is not to have not to iron out the next 3 months with perfection. It's to minimize, to take control of what we do know is coming and the obstacles we can anticipate and the solutions we can create. We're trying to iron out as much as possible so that when unexpected things come up, then we have the time for them because we've mapped out the other stuff in advance and we're not reacting to 100% of our life. We're maybe reacting to 20% of it, okay? So really this is about setting an intention. It doesn't have to be perfectly executed to work. I have a very quick story. I have a client who set a goal. She had a miserable first half of the year because her observation, she's an assistant principal. Her observations got really behind and she had to spend her entire break doing teacher observation write-ups. She was miserable. She did not want to spend her second half of her year with that same problem. So we came up. Mathematically, it was very simple. 16 observations due by the end of the school year. She had around 8 to 10 weeks to do them. It was an average of 2 observations per week. She just called me this week and said, you cannot believe this. In the middle of and I knew this because we've been coaching every week, but in the middle of it, she got off track. Something came up and she didn't do 2, and then she didn't do 2. She got like 4 behind and her brain started to freak out. Like I'm off track. I'm never going to catch up. I'm not going to get this done. And she started to panic, thinking she was going to miss the deadline, right? She wasn't going to meet her deadline and meet her goal. But through coaching, we got her brain calmed down and she was able to find time to get those things done. Here's my hope. She got it done a week early. And then she got to just enjoy the last week of school with the children because she wasn't worried about the observations. They weren't like playing in the background of her mind. The reason I share this with you is that you're going to create this 3-month plan, but it doesn't have to be perfectly executed for it to work. You are going to get off track, and sometimes going off track is okay. All right? Because it's not about perfection. It's about progress, and it's about setting that intention. You've considered the details and you have time to change and shift as interruptions and emergencies, true emergencies come up. Okay. I also want to offer this, the longer term benefits of this. When you get into a rhythm of planning every 3 months, you are going to see that the resources you need to use are so much less. You save time, you save energy, but you save money. You know, when you have you take a last minute flight somewhere, how much more expensive it is than when you plan it out 3 months in advance and you book that flight early or you book your hotel. It's a lot cheaper generally to book in advance than it is to book last minute. Same is true with school leadership. You're going to spend more of your resources when you're reacting in last minute than when you're doing it ahead of time. You get to visualize and you get to feel good because you're visualizing it going smoothly, which means you're setting that intention, and the way that you think is going to roll out in the way that you show up and the results that you create. You're going to decide what you delegate. Now, we're going to talk about delegation. Delegation is hard for us because we like to have ownership and control and we feel responsible and we don't think other people can do it as well as us. This is your coaching work. You've got to be able to delegate and let somebody else take the job, make a mistake, give them grace and space for that, and let it be B- work. There are things you can let go of that can be B- work. No one's going to die. It's going to be okay. All right. That's hard for us. That's where coaching comes in. Okay. You got to coach yourself on what you can delegate and how much you can delegate and why you're delegating and how you're going to set that person up for success so that in the future, you're not the one doing all the jobs. Okay. You're going to map out your schedule so you know how you're spending your time, and you've got to get honest with yourself. We're going to talk about this in the steps, but getting honest with yourself about how you're spending your time. But the beauty, the long-term benefit, you're always planned, you're always prepared, you're attuned into what's going on. You've got a pulse on your campus. You know the rhythm, right? You are the captain of your ship. You understand the rhythm and the flow and the waves. The storms come in, you know how to handle them. You stay focused on the end goal, right? And what I love most is that I have helped so many school leaders stop overworking as a reaction to trying to get it all done. because you're not doing last minute work. You're not having to meet that deadline 12 hours before it's due because we've planned it in advance. Okay. One last thing, you're going to experience work-life balance. I know that might feel impossible right now, but the 3-month plan helps you do that. When you have a plan, you are able to more clearly and concisely communicate with your team, with your staff, your students, your community. Your actions become more consistent. There is a clear process and approach, not just for you, but you clarify what your teachers need. How you look at, how can I make systems, how can I set up systems and make their job easier? What is a process I can create to simplify it for them, to make them more successful? And then how can I give them time for their learning curve as a teacher and time to make those adjustments so that they can meet their goals? Okay. You become a more valuable school leader when you implement a 3-month plan, map out those details, plan the obstacles, and do it with fidelity. And what I mean by that is not perfection. The fidelity isn't in checking the boxes. It's in the commitment to the goal. Your goal is not to create the 3-month plan. Your goal is the goal, the reason behind the 3-month plan, the goal behind the 3-month plan, what you're trying to achieve by implementing the 3-month plan, right? So you become a highly effective leader. Your time is more effective. Your priorities are met. Your deadlines are met. Problems are solved ahead of time. Do you know how happy your district administration is going to be when you get this down? You are going to be the most valuable person in your district, which means higher demand for you. You become a more valuable leader. People value that about you. They come to you. You become the expert in school leadership, and you can ultimately create more money for yourself because you have more value to offer. I love that about you. I want you working and making as much money as possible without burning yourself out. We are going to stop overworking, stop overexerting, and stop overscheduling. That's it. Now, here are the steps. You know what? I didn't write the steps down. You know what? They're probably in you guys got your 3-month plan in the email. If you haven't checked it, go check. I sent it out to you. You can look at it if you want to print that out. I print mine out. I actually use my own tool for myself. I use that tool to plan. So the steps are, you're going to make a list. Prioritize it. Map out details. You guys can take a screenshot of this or write it down if you want. Decide and delegate. And calendar and honor. Now, none of this is rocket science until we get down to these things. Let's talk about it. Okay, here we go. Some things I want you to keep. Well, let me start with this. Step 1 is make a list, right? You know how to do this. This is called a to-do list. It's called a brain drain. For the next 3 months, you're going to write down everything that you anticipate needing to accomplish, not just do, but accomplish. By the end of the 90 days, these things will be done. Like, these are my deadlines. I'm going to tell you what to consider here in a minute. You're going to make a list of all the things. Okay. Things to consider on the list are deadlines that need to be met, meetings and appointments, including personal, your fun, your travel time, your personal time, every single thing you spend 1 minute or more on in your day, sleep, showering, commuting, getting the kids to school, making the lunches, getting to the store, getting to the kids to the dentist, whatever, all those appointments and travel times, all of it has to count, okay? Because it's taking time. And time doesn't care whether you're driving in the car or whether you're at an IEP meeting. The minutes count the same. It's like dollars, right? Whether you spend $5 on a bottle of water or $5 on a coffee, you've still spent $5. It just matters what you consider more valuable, coffee or water, and probably depends on the day, on the moment, whether it's morning or afternoon, whether you need coffee or water, maybe both. Joking aside, right? You want to consider deadlines, meetings and appointments, fun travel, personal events, like events that you have to plan. Like before the beginning of the year, we always had a big lemonade social where we would post the class list. The kids would come have lemonade and cookies. They would meet their teacher. We would get to know each other. Maybe they got to go into the classroom and see the classroom. So they felt they weren't afraid to step in that first day. We made a big event out of meeting teachers ahead of time, getting comfortable with the campus, getting parents that information packet. So that was a big event at my school. You guys might have other welcoming events at your school. You want to get those whatever 3 months. So it's what, June. So July, August, and September, you want to get those 3 months worth of events mapped out on your list. And then I want you to pick one goal. What is one accomplishment that you want to accomplish as a school leader? Your goal, your accomplishment, okay? It can be, I want to get this many observations done, or I want to get this many walkthroughs completed, or I want to hold this many data meetings. And it doesn't matter. You pick it. It's really hot here in San Jose today. I'm dying right now. Forgot to turn the air on. Woo. Okay. Now, step 1 is make the list. Step 2, you have to prioritize it. So where did I put that? Okay. I'm going to show you something. Just a minute. I first taught this concept to my current clients, and I want to just show this to you because it's going to help you with your prioritization. You're going to have to pick a primary focus. In order to even know where to begin with a priority, you have to have a criteria in order to decide, is this a priority or not? This is the system I taught my clients, and I'm going to teach you because I love you and I want you to have this. You have to develop a theory. Now, there are a million right ways to be a school leader, okay? There are a million right things you can do. There are a lot of books out there to tell you how. There's a lot of workshops, and even I'm telling you an option. Now, there's no one right way. There are a million right ways. You, as the school leader, have to decide for yourself with the best of intention what you think the one priority should be for your school. It doesn't mean it's the only priority. It's the current priority. That's what I want to say. You just develop a theory. What do I, as the school leader, think is the next best step for my school? What's the one next thing that it needs to be successful for the next 90 days? This isn't for the next 5 years. It's not for the full year. It's just the next 3 months. What's the one thing, if we could get this going in the next 90 days, would make us closer to our end of year goal? Just pick it and stick it, okay? Develop a theory. What do you think is the next best step? The value of that theory. Why do you think it's the best next step? You got to sell yourself. Why is, if you think walkthroughs, I'm going to use walkthroughs throughout this, but like if you think walkthroughs are the best next step that you can take, if that's your primary focus, why? Why do they matter? What's the intention behind them? What do you want to create as a result of walkthroughs? You want to deeply understand the value of your theory, the value of your guess, because that is what becomes your primary focus. Okay. So that's a little extra in addition to a little inside scoop there. So when you work with me full time, you're going to get all these extra little goodies. Okay. Okay. With that said, You have to learn how to prioritize, which means saying no to some things or not now. I like to just consider them not nows. That I love that idea. It's great. It's a not now. We're going to work on that. Let's consider that for the next 90 days. Okay. Once you make that prioritization based on your theory, you just go through what needs to be done. Consider all those components I talked about in terms of the deadlines, meetings, personal events, and one accomplishment, your priority focus. Then you have to look at your list and you have to map out every single detail. I'm going to tell you, this is pitfall number 1. You will not want to get in the nitty-gritty of the details because it's boring and it's tedious and it pushes your brain to think hard and it's time consuming. Your brain won't want to do it. It doesn't like it. But skipping this step will fail the 3-month plan. I highly encourage you to spend most of your time on step 3. Okay. So for example, if you have an event, a pre-start of school event, like the Lemonade Social for me, you have to say, okay, what is every single thing that needs to be in place for that event to be successful, for it to even get off the ground and launch? What has to be in place? And you backwards plan every little single detail. And then I know you don't want to do it, but I promise you, doing it ahead of time feels so much better than doing it on the fly last minute or not doing it at all and then having it crash and burn. Okay. Now, for those of you who love to plan, this might be fun for you. Yay for you. I'm not a detail person. I like to just think in big picture, but training my brain how to be very detail oriented and to look at what's working, what's not, and what I'm going to adjust and what do I need to plan out differently for the next time I do the Lemonade Social has served me very well. So if you're not a detail oriented person and this feels tedious and boring, let it be boring, let it be tedious and do it anyway. I promise you it's a game changer. Okay. Now, number 4, once you map out those details, you're going to have to look at each one of those steps and say, you're going to have to make some decisions. Decide who's going to be in charge. Is it something you absolutely have to do? Or is there somebody else on your staff that is also beautifully talented and capable of managing this task? I love to ask my clients, if you could not, if you were like unavailable, if you were out of country, you were sick with home with COVID quarantining and you couldn't do this, who would you pick to do it and why? You got to sell yourself on delegating. You want to delegate as much as possible. You want to empower your teachers. Now, delegation is different than abdication. You have to understand what task you're delegating, why you're delegating it, and what you want that task to look like. That person that's taking on the task for you, they need to understand your set of standards and expectations for completing that task. So you are not abdicating the work onto somebody else and then just pushing your work onto somebody else's plate. You do the work of here's exactly what I want this task to look like. Here's my expectations. Here's the process. Here are the tools. Here's the time that you need to do it. You have to give that person everything that you would need to be successful. Give it to them. So you've got to take the time to plan out your delegation, right? Now, I know what you're thinking. Sometimes it feels like it takes more time to delegate. That is true in the beginning, but the more you plan it out ahead of time, it actually behooves you in the end because you start to train people how to do it up to your level of standard. You're going to give them B minus, space and grace to get that done. But not delegating will be the death of your plan because you're going to think you can get everything done yourself. You do it better than everybody else. You're just going to overwork. You're just going to overschedule. You just have what it takes. You're the leader and it's your responsibility. That is how burnout occurs. That is how overworking occurs. And that's how sloppiness occurs. That's when you start to miss things. That's when you start to feel overwhelmed, when you're not getting to anything and you're not doing everything well or anything well, right? Now, the way that you delegate is by trusting other people to do a good enough job, or maybe even better. Imagine this. What if you delegated it and they did it better than you would have done? Who's to say? Like, there are some people out there who are brilliant. You want to know your people. What are they good at? What are they talented? What do they like? Do they want to do this? Of course they do. When they love you, they're willing to help you. And some people love taking on stuff like that. You have to think about that. Okay. And being willing to let go, being willing to let it be B- work, and then give them loving feedback about, this is what I loved about this. This is what we might want to fix for next time. And you might have to go in and do some damage control. I understand that, but it's worth your time investment to train people to come up with a delegation plan so that eventually your people are empowered to solve their own problems, to come up with solutions on their own, and to take things off your plate. Right? Then whatever is left over after you've delegated and you've talked to those people and you've trained them and you've kind of passed the baton, now it comes to your calendar. What's left that has to be done by you, you're going to calendar it, and then you're going to honor it. That sounds very easy, but it's really hard. Calendaring is not the problem necessarily, unless unless you've under delegated and there's just too much to physically put onto your calendar. If you've delegated correctly, you should be able to get done the essentials. And remember, there are some things you're not going to prioritize. Not everything on your brain drain list is going to make it to the calendar. This is the process of weeding out what isn't aligned to your primary focus. So when you decide the best next step, and that's your primary focus, if the task isn't essential and doesn't align, it's out. Maybe it can jump on the next 90-day plan. Okay. Got to honor that plan. Honoring is hard. Okay. And here's why. Interruptions, other people's, right? We talked about this. Honoring your plan is hard. That's where the work comes in. That's where your work comes in. Your commitment and your dedication, your commitment to not just having the plan, but the results that the plan is creating. So a couple more pitfalls I want to highlight. Not saying not now, not prioritizing. There are true emergencies that happen, but a teacher coming to you wanting you to fix the copy machine, or a teacher coming to you and wanting to tattle on another staff member, it might not be a true emergency. It might be an emergency on their part. Now, if a teacher comes to you and says there's an active shooter on campus, or there is a a strange person walking around, yes, true emergency, of course. But most interruptions are not your true emergency. They might be somebody else's. You need to be able to differentiate between, are they having an emergency situation because of their lack of planning, or are you having an emergency because they're sharing with you there is an emergency you need to address? Okay. Be willing to say not now. It's okay to ask somebody to come back. You know, the whole got a minute thing. You got a minute? Do you got a minute? Do you got a minute? And all of a sudden, all your minutes have been used up by got a minute. Be willing to say no. Ask them to schedule a time with you, because what they're doing is they're coming to you because they just want their answer right then, right now. They want it immediately. They want to be immediately gratified with you, your time and attention, and getting the answer from you. That does not empower them to have to wait, to have to think, to maybe problem solve on their own. When you say not now, when you say, you know what, I'm in the middle of planning my 3-month plan, can you talk to the secretary and get on my schedule for later this afternoon? A lot of times they'll go find a solution. They'll go talk to somebody else or figure it out, and they'll say, oh, never mind, I don't need to meet with you. That's a beautiful thing. Okay. So being willing to say not now is huge. Pitfall number 4, scheduling back to back to back. Okay. You want to give yourself time and space between your calendaring. Don't tell yourself the lie that you're going to go from 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12 without commute time, without bio breaks, without interruptions, without a student being sent to the office, without a parent coming in with a question. You want to plan your interruptions. I put a block. I used to put 1 hour a day and I just put interruptions on my calendar. And what that did was it gave me a buffer. So I never knew when the interruptions were going to happen, but I had time blocked out so that I didn't overschedule myself. Do you see that? You want to remember the reality of the job is you are here to serve your people, your staff, your students, your community. And some of those interruptions are warranted and necessary. And you want to just know, you want to tell yourself the truth. Interruptions happen. Wipeout days happen, right? That's okay. When you have a wipeout day, it's not a problem with your 3-month plan. We're just going to adjust because you've created time and space, you've delegated, you've constrained, you've said no. And there is time on your calendar because you're not going to plan back to back. You're going to put some space in there. You want to be intentional with your time. There's a balance here, but you don't want to think that you're going to get done an IEP meeting before school and then walkthroughs and then teacher observations. And then you're going to be in the lunchroom and then you're going to go to the district leadership team meeting and then you're going to come back and then you're going to do another IEP meeting. That's how we typically schedule our day, but we don't think about drive time, commute time, lunch time for anything for lunch, which is why a lot of us don't even eat lunch, or we wait 3 hours to go to the bathroom when we have been feeling uncomfortable for a really long time, right? So scheduling back to back is going to harm your plan in the end because you're going to get discouraged that you're not getting done what you thought you'd get done. You're going to overschedule, you're going to overplan, and you're going to be very disappointed when you don't get your plan. You're going to tell yourself the plan's not working. Okay. So that is the gist of the 3-month plan. You guys all have the template in your email box. I sent it to you an hour before this workshop. You can take notes on it. You can start to plan. It's really fun. I've been hosting workshops with my current clients so that we, in real time, we're working on the plan and then we're coming up with problem solving solutions together. Super fun. So if you become a coaching client of mine, you can jump in on the rest of those workshops. I'm offering one in July and one in August, and I may make them a monthly call just so that all of us can stay on track, keep each other accountable, help each other problem solve. They've been highly successful and really fun, and it allows you to connect with fellow empowered principals. Super fun. So before I take any questions, I want to share with you how coaching is going to help you implement the 3-month plan to make the goals, the outcomes of the 3-month plan inevitable. You won't fail with the 3-month plan when you have coaching. And here's why. It's one thing to develop the plan, right? It's one thing to make the list and prioritize and delegate, put it on the calendar. You can check those boxes. And we all have the skill set to be able to make a plan and to put it on our calendar. It's another level to commit. It's a deeper level of commitment to honor that calendar and to see your plan all the way through, even when you get sidetracked, because I promise you, in 3 months' time, you will have plenty of interruptions, emergencies. You will get sidetracked. You'll have wipeout days. You'll have people who want to wipe out your 3-month plan, who don't agree with your 3-month plan. And then what do, right? The Empowered Principal Coaching Program is how you stay on track. It's how you allow those hiccups to happen without making it mean you're doing it wrong or it's not working, the plan's not working, right? It's like having a fitness coach, right? You know how to go out and be fit, to take a walk or go to the gym or do a yoga. You know what you need to do. You can create a plan. You can create a meal plan. You can create a workout plan. You can put it on your calendar. The hard part is honoring it when you've got kids of your own and your work is really busy. And maybe you have a partner and you've got friends and you've got family and you've got all these other demands. What happens is the plan can slip away and you don't honor it because you don't have that accountability and sustainability set up in place. And I'm going to guess to say your plan doesn't work because you're really hard on yourself. Because when you do get off track, you beat yourself up. You're not kind to yourself. You don't love on yourself. You don't understand like that sidetracks happen and that they're not a real problem. Okay. Coaching is what's going to make this 3-month plan successful. Through weekly calls, we problem solve any hiccups that you come across in real time. So every single week, you're touching base for 30 minutes with me to remain clear on your primary focus. We're going to keep it on the front burner. We're going to talk about what came up, why it's a problem. What do you think the solution is? How are we going to approach this? We're going to make adjustments to your schedule without changing the goal. Here's what happens. We have a 90-day plan. We have a goal we want to accomplish. We get off track and then we change the goal. We're like, oh, I'm off track. I better change the goal. Or I'm never going to make the goal. No, we don't change the goal. We adjust the plan to fit the goal. We make the goal still happen. Because here's the truth. Emotions drive our actions. How we're feeling about ourselves, how we're feeling about our plan, how we're feeling about the way we're showing up and working with other people, and what we're thinking about the people we work with. All of those thoughts and emotions are energy behind your actions. Here's how I know this is true. You can make a plan and go through the motions of that plan, and the plan will not achieve the results you want. So you can create a 3-month plan. You can check every single thing off, and you can say, I did everything on my 3-month plan, but I didn't get the result. How is that possible? Here's the difference. Let me give you an example. I'm going to use walkthroughs again because they're so concrete. Everybody likes to do walkthroughs. They think it's of value. They're sold on the value of walkthroughs and the purpose. Okay. There are principals who go through the motions of going on walkthroughs, who walk through classrooms every single day or every single week, and they don't generate the result of improved teaching and learning because they're just going through the motions, not the emotions, the motions of it. They're just checking the box. And the reason they're just checking the box is they're having thoughts like, this is obligatory. It's something I have to do. I'm required to do it. It's not really that helpful. It's kind of a waste of time. It's such a burden. It doesn't really matter. Teachers don't care. Teachers are afraid when I walk in. There's a million thoughts you have that generate this kind of flat feeling of like boring, tedious, obligatory, doesn't really matter kind of energy. So when you're walking through, you're like, check the box, check the box, check the box. That is not going to improve teaching and learning for students and teachers. But if the energy behind your intention, so if your primary focus is, I'm going to go through walkthroughs once a week, and I'm going to be intentional and purposeful and make them productive, and you're sold on the value of that productivity of the walkthrough, your energy is going to be different. You're going to walk through with enthusiasm and excitement and curiosity and delight. And you're going to look for all the things that are working, and you're going to give your teachers lots of love and kudos, and you're going to connect with your students, and you're going to connect with teachers. You're going to create value in the walkthrough because of your thoughts about it. These are valuable. This is the best use of my time. I get to connect with people. People get to see me. They know that I care. I'm giving feedback. They're receiving feedback. This is the best use of my time. This is creating value for teachers and students. That energy is what creates improved teaching and learning. Okay. 2 sets of actions, 2 different sets of energies behind them. Coaching is what helps you identify thoughts and emotions that are going to stimulate the energy you need to take the action in a way that's intentional and productive for you. Okay. So for those of you who are on the call or you're watching this replay and you want support for the upcoming year to implement your plan and to ensure its success, I invite you into the Empowered Principal Coaching Program. It's my exclusive one-on-one coaching program. It's a 12-month program. You've got me for the whole year by your side. We're going to meet weekly to ensure that your 3-month plan is a success, that you're staying on track. And when you're off track, we're going to get you back on track, right? And why this program is so successful, 100% of my clients get results. My clients sign up over and over, year after year, to work with me because every year they deepen their understanding and they increase their value. They're more productive. They're more efficient. They're more effective. They have work-life balance. They can't get enough of coaching. And here's why. It's private. It's confidential. They get to talk with me. I'm not in your district. I don't know anybody. So we get to the heart of the matter. What's really going on? What is this about? How are you feeling? Who are you working with? What approach are you using? Let's talk about how to approach them in a way that's going to work. So a lot of my client calls are around teacher conversations, parent conversations, student conversations, conversations with your district, why your plan is or isn't working, what you want to implement and why it's an obstacle for teachers, or what you're trying to implement and why it's an obstacle for parents. We work through those daily details of your vision and your plan so that you can figure out how to overcome any obstacle that comes your way. You also have somebody in your corner. Look, I am a principal first and foremost. I've done this job for years. I have been a coach for the last 5 years. I have heard all kinds of stories from all across the United States and in other countries. I've coached for people from Canada and South America and Mexico. I can tell you that there are universal issues that you all face. And one of the things you face is very isolating. You have somebody in your corner every step of the way. You do not have to be alone in this, you guys. I feel like when I was in school leadership, I was so isolated, especially if you're a school leader and you don't have an admin team, you don't have an AP, you don't have an assistant principal, you don't have a vice principal, you don't have anybody in your office really that acts as an admin, you feel even more isolated. You don't have to be alone. There are hundreds, if not thousands of us out here to support you and help you. I am here to help you. You have somebody that you can process the truth of your challenges, the truth of your difficulties, any insecurities you have. It goes nowhere because this is private and confidential. And a coaching will allow you to anticipate obstacles ahead of time so that we can plan out, how am I going to talk to this teacher? How do I get this plan in motion? How do I solve for this problem? Or the other thing I want to say is, like, how do we celebrate teachers? How do we slow down and acknowledge them and focus on what is working? Our brains are designed to look at what isn't working. I'm going to help you balance that out with 50-50. We're going to look at what isn't working. We'll fix that, but we're also going to celebrate all that is working. The progress you're making, the progress teachers are making, the progress students are making, even if the numbers don't show it quite yet. The numbers are always a lagging indicator. So we have to focus on what is working and look at those milestones. And we do that throughout the 12-month program. Okay. The coaching program is going to help you align to your vision and your values, which means you establish priorities, which means goals are achieved more quickly. And the best part about this work is you just embody the person. You become the person who is an empowered leader, who creates successful results, who becomes in high demand, who can demand more pay, who can demand more experience, who can demand more challenges and, take on more responsibility, because you will know how to handle anything that comes your way. So things that you learn, how to handle new situations, whether you're a first-year leader or a 10-year veteran, this program is for you. We help you prioritize and stay on task, maximize your top resources, how to get the most out of your brain, which is your number one asset, your time, your resources, how to create authentic connections with other people, how to navigate difficult conversations and difficult people and people who don't really want to be working for you. We help them coach up or out. We're not going to tolerate that, okay? But we're going to coach them from a very genuine, open, clean, loving space, okay? We're going to increase the value that you provide. We're going to attract ideal teachers in. I do a big program in the spring on how to hire teachers, how to get hired as the ideal principal, how to become that ideal principal that attracts ideal teachers, how to create an A+ team for your staff and your school. I'm going to teach you how to get out of hustle mode and create sustainability. And by that, I mean you cannot overwork yourself to the bone. It will not last. Sustainability is about balance. Balance in leadership, balance in work, balance in life, balance in how much help you offer people versus how much empowerment you give them. It's all about creating that 50-50 balance as a school leader. So here's what you're going to do. In order to sign up for the coaching program, I have sent out an email. It went out at 5 p.m. Pacific time, so 8 p.m. your time on the East Coast over there and everywhere in between, okay? I sent an email out with 2 links. Number 1 is a link to my consult schedule. So you just jump on my schedule, It's a 45 to 60-minute phone call where I get to understand your specific situation and coach you through your 3-month plan, what you want to accomplish, what you need to get there, and how we're going to get there. We're going to come up with a process, and then we're going to make a decision. Are you ready to coach or not? Are you ready to invest your time and energy into coaching? And do you want that support to help you be successful as a school leader, to help you create balance, to help you achieve goals? Do you want this level of support? Yes or no? That's what the consult process includes. That's why we do a consult before we sign up for coaching, because I want to make sure that I'm a fit for you, you're a fit for me, and that you are eager and ready to do this work. Okay. The second link is simply to get on the email list. If you're not on the Empowered Principal email list, you can sign up through that link to get the latest information, content. I always send out the links. I send out all of the webinar information, and you'll have access to everything I do, the podcast, my resources, all of that. Any content I offer, you get on the email list, and then you get access to that, and you get first dibs on information and signing up for the webinars, the trainings, the workshops, the videos, all of it. Okay. So again, the benefits for this program: you're not in isolation. You do not have to do this alone. If there's anything that breaks my heart, is to know that there are school leaders out there suffering in silence, suffering alone, feeling like they have to fake it until they make it. They can't ask questions or too many questions, or you have to dance around, not getting it right the first time, and you're afraid or embarrassed. You can come to me. I don't care if we coach on the same thing for the entire year. I don't want you to do it in isolation, and you don't have to. There is somebody out here for you, helping you, to have somebody in your corner, your advocate for your dreams. As your coach, I'm your coach. I'm not your superintendent's coach. I'm not being imposing upon you. Coaching isn't about telling you what to do or how to do it. It's about helping you see that the answers are all within sight of you. Yes, I do also mentor. There are times where I'm going to say, here is my recommendation. I'm going to guide you through a potential way to handle this. You get to ultimately decide for yourself. Coaching is about helping you see the answers and solutions that you want. Your goal, your way. I just get your mind out of your own way. Okay. What happens is you start to value your own opinions, your own thoughts, your own brilliance, your own ideas. That is where the empowerment piece comes in. You are valuable. You have something to offer. You're good enough just as you are. You have brilliance to share with your team. Okay. Every coaching session is personalized just for you. It's very simple, easy, and doable. Every day that my clients come in, they come in confused and overwhelmed, and they brain drain. And then guess what? By the end of the 30 minutes, they're calm, they feel certain, they're clear, they have next steps, they feel more confident moving forward. So you expedite not just your transformation in who you are, but you expedite your goal achievement. You can accomplish goals faster. And here's the truth: you don't even have to be perfect. You can be messy, you can do it sloppy, you can get off track, and you can still meet the goal. How about that, right? My client, Wendy, that I was telling you about earlier with the observations, she got off track from A to Z. She zigzagged on her plan. She still met the goal, right? You can do that. Okay. B- work, get you to the goal. Okay. And what I love is I love to help people create luxurious amounts of time for themselves as school leaders. There's plenty of time to work, and there's plenty of time to play. Okay. So with that, the program is simple, easy, and doable. And if you are a principal out there who wants the support from a coach who's an expert in school leadership, and you want to maximize your time, and you want to ensure this 3-month plan, which is what we talked about throughout the training, now is the time to sign up. So go to your email and click on that link, schedule the consult, and you're ready to go. Now, we've got 15 minutes left for all your questions. So if you have a question, put it in the Q&A. If you don't have a question, class will be dismissed, and you can go off and get started on your plan. And I want you to finalize one more thing: is what is your intention? What is your next step? What is the one action you're going to commit to to ensure that the 3 months plan is a success for you. What are you going to do to ensure that? Okay. You can put it in the chat. You can send it to me via email. You can put it in the Facebook group, but I want to know your intention. I want to help you stay on track, keep mindful of those goals, and to really ensure that this 3-month plan will be successful for you. Okay. I'm going to look in the Q&A. If I don't see any questions, I'll give you guys another minute to type them up. If you have questions, I will answer them. And if not, that's it. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to let you guys go. Have an amazing rest of your week. Happy summer. Join the Facebook group. We're having so much fun. Bag of swag could come your way if you are a winner, and you can win 4 free weeks of coaching. Okay. Have an amazing week, guys. I love you all. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.